Like he said, we're going to talk about office safety, but before we do that, I do want to remind y'all about our rodeo real quick. Coming up March 21st, 22nd, York Electric Co-op. If you want to register, competitor, judge, volunteer, hey, we'd love to have you. We appreciate everything Berkeley's done in the past. Like last year, y'all hosted it. Really appreciate that. Had a great event here. Really appreciate all the support y'all have always given to it. We look forward to another great event this time. If you want more information, I would say go to our website, but y'all got the rodeo guru sitting over here, and Kevin. Just call Kevin. That's easier. He could probably give you more information than the website will. But we look forward to another great event this year. Hope to see y'all there, and it'll be a good time. But let's talk about office safety, all right? You know, I didn't know till I came here, and Teddy and Kenny, those guys were telling me yesterday, this is the first time it's ever kind of been truly a specific office safety meeting like this. And, you know, y'all, I think that's important because Jacob touched on it. Yeah, they're hazards. There's obvious hazards the linemen face, right? Electricity, heavy machinery, tools, equipment, dealing with the traffic out there on the roadway, dealing with ditches. There's all types of hazards they face, and they're pretty relevant, right? They're right there in your face, so to speak. But do y'all face hazards in here too? Do y'all face hazards in this building or just being an office worker? All right, what are they? What are some of them? Trips. What else? Slips. What else? Falls. I'm about to say, all right, what do slips and trips lead to? Slips, trips, falls, right? Hey, some of the most common injuries, some of the most common incidents that occur in a workplace, all right? How many of y'all deal with members on a day-to-day basis, either in person or over the phone? How many of y'all do that? Yeah, look, real quick, y'all the real MVPs, okay? Y'all the real, I couldn't do that. So God bless y'all, thank y'all for all y'all do. But could a member potentially be a hazard to you? Potentially, right? And I like to think about it in the sense of maybe they don't represent a direct threat to you, but you ever have a member get hot with you and it gets you all worked up and fired up and all that? Where's your focus now if that happens? Focus is off, right? It's no different than driving. If you're driving down the roadway and you've got that driver that's got all this road rage and they're driving aggressively, what's that give you? Or at least it gives me. It gets me worked up. It gets me anxious. It gets me potential road rage, and what I lose focus, right? So just losing focus can be a hazard. Y'all mentioned slips, trips, falls. Y'all, there's ergonomic hazards that are out there. We'll talk about those. Robbery, first aid, ladders, tornadoes, fires, fire drills, those types of things, electrical, and lifting, all right? So there are a lot of hazards you are subjected to. Sometimes they're not as in your face, like I said, as the electricity, but we do face hazards, okay? Just some quick numbers, quick idea of what's out there. Y'all mentioned slips, trips, falls. Those are the first three called out, right? Slips, trips, falls. In the last 5 years at co-ops have accounted for over 1,200 incidents. Now, this is co-ops nationwide that Federated serves, and the total of all these is over 2,000 incidents, 2,044 to be exact. That's slips, trips, falls, lifting injuries, falls from a different level, fall on stairs, or just repetitive motion injuries. All right, so those are the things that y'all are really subjected to. That's how many have happened, to a tune of almost $35.5 million worth of claims that Federated has paid out in just 5 years. So y'all, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is very representative of industries as a whole. Yes, this is only co-ops Federated serves, but if you look at other industries, other entities, any other job out there, slips, trips, falls is going to be one of the main ones. It's going to be one of the biggest ones. It's going to be one of the big focus areas where a lot of incidents occur, where a lot of hazards exist. Our safety manual does cover it. Again, like Jacob mentioned, most of the safety manual is geared toward linemen, but y'all do have an office safety section in there. All right, office safety section is in there. It's fairly extensive, just a few of them. Chairs, waste baskets, extension cords, other articles shall not be left in aisles where they constitute a trip hazard. That's easy, right? That's easy, but what if you have renovations going on? What if you have things where you need this drop cord over here? You know, we were in Goose Creek yesterday. There's a cord draped across the floor. We had to have power, but how do you make it safe? How do you create it and position it in a way so it's not a hazard? It was taped down. You can put a rug over it. Just little things you can do because, yes, we have to have it, but we're making it where it's not a hazard to us, all right? Where's it at? Walk cautiously around blind corners. Walk cautiously around blind corners. Any of y'all ever come around the corner at the same time as somebody else and you almost have a collision right there? I know of an instance that happened one time. Somebody was carrying boxes Another person was coming around the other corner, and there was a collision. The individual carrying the boxes falls and ends up breaking their wrist. All right? Just be mindful around these blind corners where you can't see. Okay? We don't think about it. Hey, we're used to it. We're here all the time, but we don't think about it. Material shall not be stored within 3 feet of an electrical panel. If you need to get in there and access it, you don't want to have to move stuff out of the way, right? These are just some of the things that are on here. We'll kind of go through them. Slips, trips, falls, like we said, the most common injuries that are out there, most common causes for incidents in the workplace, especially in offices. You know, we can't do like this. Can't do like my man right here, hanging a banner that says think safety first, while he's got one foot on a cabinet and the other foot on a stair rail. You know, hey, let's practice what we preach, right? We're saying think safety first. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, right? Wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But the National Safety Council, y'all, some statistics on this. They say you are 2.5 times more likely to suffer a debilitating injury from a slip, trip, or a fall at work versus not at work. 2.5 times more likely to suffer a debilitating fall or injury because of these at work versus not at work. Why do you think that is? You're at work a lot of time. You're here a lot, right? Fair enough. We are here a lot. We are here a lot. But why else? Why else do you think that is? How much more exposure do you have to stuff here? I mean, we've all probably got a table at home, right? Got a table, 2, 3. How many tables are in this room that you could potentially now fall on? Your amount of exposure is more while you're here at work, right? There are more drop cords. There's more stairs. There's just more. So having more, that means the chances, the likelihood that it can happen is only increased, right? But how do we reduce these hazards? How do we reduce them? Because y'all, sometimes you can't get rid of them, right? You can't control Mother Nature. You can't help if ice builds up outside. So how do you control that hazard? Can't get rid of it. How do we control it? How do we make it safe? We have to have cords on the floor. How do we make them safe? That's what this is about. You can't always eliminate them, but you can be aware of them. You can work around them. And y'all, just because you're aware of it doesn't mean the next person will be aware of it, okay? Again, y'all are used to your office buildings. You're used to their layout, so you might see a cord draped across the floor. Is the next person? Are they thinking, let me look for a cord? Where, all right, if you just tape it down, now if they don't see it, it reduces the likelihood that they trip. One way is good housekeeping. All right, good housekeeping, and y'all, that's something that's a habit. And housekeeping, it's an issue a lot of times for a lot of co-ops in storage rooms, storage areas. Usually office areas are in good shape. But just think about housekeeping from a renovation standpoint. You're having to move stuff around. You're having to work in smaller, maybe tighter areas just because you're having work in the building done. Hey, it happens. That's fine. But try to set this stuff up stored in as safe of a manner as you possibly can, okay? It can reflect your overall safety attitude. It is a statistic that's out there on studies that have been done. The neater, the cleaner, the more just better a work area is kept, usually shows that they typically have a little bit safer safety attitude overall. Store materials in an orderly manner. Again, you know, stack them accordingly. Don't stack them in a manner where they're going to fall over on somebody. Don't have stuff, you know, sticking halfway off a shelf where it can tip over and fall. Keep your work areas clean. Keep file cabinets closed. Have any of y'all ever hit your shin on the trailer hitch on the back of a truck before? I'm going to tell you from experience, a file cabinet will feel the same way if you don't know it's open and you walk into it, all right? Again, you might know the file cabinet's open. Does the next person see it? Do they know it's open? So if you don't need it open, you know, put your stuff in there and close it back. Keep file cabinets closed. Right here, you can see from a housekeeping standpoint, the big picture, y'all just clean that stuff up. Just clean it up. It's simple, right? You don't want your cords just laying all on the floor like that where somebody can trip over them. Busted wood, material on the floor where they can trip. This one up here at the top, yeah, there were some renovations going on in that building at the time. Yes, that picture is completely 100% staged, but it can show what can happen. And these cords down here on the bottom left, that's something that actually happened to me. I took that picture after I tripped over them. I got to a co-op one morning, get there, walk in the meeting room, and the light switch was on the other side of the room. So it's dark in there. I go walking across there to cut the light switch on, and I tripped over all that. Thankfully, I didn't face plant, and very thankful they didn't have cameras on in there. But, you know, it was a trip hazard. But again, that's easy to fix, easy to make neat. Right here, this was at an office building where they were doing some renovations in their dispatch area, and all their dispatchers were crammed into this little room. Again, doing renovations. I get it. They got to be somewhere, right? Well, the person that was sitting in this table and this chair right here, they had to get up and leave, and they tripped over that one, that rolling chair right there, right? Just, y'all, try to organize it as best you can so that you are eliminating things that could be a problem. Right here, the cords like that, I'm not so much worried about those type of cords. They're neatly routed, they're bundled together, they're not creating a hazard. What I'm worried about is stuff like this right here, where you see stuff laying all over the floor, cords laying all over the floor. And again, what is typically seen, if you're okay with that, how long before it gets to this? If you're okay with that type of mess, how long does it take before a bigger mess to grow, a bigger problem to grow, a bigger issue to grow, okay? So if we correct it before it ever gets there, hey, we've stopped the problem before it ever happens, or curbed a potential hazard before it ever shows up. Like I said, surfaces, we can't control Mother Nature. You can't help if it's raining outside. You can't help if it's icing. Let's talk about ice. If your sidewalk's outside of iced over, are y'all going to allow a consumer to walk across that sheet of ice to come in your building? Why not? What if they trip and fall? Who's at fault? Co-op is, right? So you're going to salt it, you're going to sand it, you're going to scrape it, and if nothing else, you're at least going to put signs up, right? OSHA now has language in their walking working surfaces standard. The basics of it, y'all, to sum that walking working surfaces standard up, if you wouldn't let a consumer walk across it, you can't let an employee walk across it like that either, because now an employee could get hurt. If you're not going to do it for a consumer, you can't let the employee do it either. Okay, that's basically the whole thing summed up in a nutshell. So again, we can't get rid of these things, but we can warn folks about it, all right? Maybe it's raining outside, and I know that's from an ice machine, but maybe it's raining outside, and every time you open that door, or those doors open, rain comes blowing in. It happens. You can't tell Mother Nature to stop raining, but you can put signs up out there, caution wet floor, okay? Ladders. How many of you have ever used a makeshift ladder standing in a chair before? Nobody ever has, right? It's never happened. Look, if y'all will admit to it, I'll go and tell you, it's happened to me since I've been at Statewide. It happened to me about 2 years ago. Get to a co-op one morning, walk in, get ready to cut their projector on, well, can't find the remote. Well, usually they have a yardstick sitting over there. If the remote's not there, you can reach up there, set it up just like that. You reach over there and hit the button. Couldn't find the yardstick. So how did I cut the projector on? Not the table, I did stand in the chair. I'm ratting myself out. I stood in the chair. And as I reached and hit that button and go to step down, here come all the linemen in the back door. All the linemen. And y'all know the worst part about it? It was at my home co-op, so I couldn't say I didn't know where a ladder was. Look, y'all, it happens. We use these because they're convenient, right? It's the convenience of them. What can the convenience cost you? What are the repercussions that the convenience can be? Is the risk worth the reward? You know, is it worth cutting that button on a few minutes quicker just so I don't have to go get a ladder? At the end of the day, what's that matter, right? Go get the ladder. What's a few extra minutes if you're doing it the right way? Because, y'all, these chairs, they are not made to support your weight standing in them. Better yet, any of y'all ever stood in a rolling chair? I mean, hey, that's bad enough. You stand in a rolling chair, now we're really not stable, okay? Now we're really not stable. But both these pictures were taken after safety meetings on slips, trips, and falls. Got done with the safety meeting at this co-op, get all my stuff together, walk in the break room, and there she is standing in the chair. Like, well, let's go do the safety meeting again. Just sat down, let's go do the safety meeting again. This one, the employee did the same thing I did, reach up there and cut the projector off. Look, y'all, I get it, it's convenient, but it doesn't take a whole lot of time to go get a ladder, get something that's suitable, right? But y'all, when we use ladders, we talk about ladders with office safety, we have to use them correctly. When you set up a ladder, set them up on a level surface. Don't use cinder blocks like you see here to get it level. Make sure it is a solid level surface. That's not a stable surface. All the feet of the ladder aren't touching the ground, so it could slip. And then right here, the other picture, how many of you knew, or you don't have to be an employee of Berkeley Electric to know you don't stand on the top step of a step ladder? Y'all don't have to work here to know that, do you? It says it on the step, right? All those other steps are made out of aluminum. What's that top step made out of? Plastic. Don't stand up there, right? Don't stand up there. We know that. But, hey, if you need a taller ladder, just get you a taller ladder, all right? Just get a taller ladder. It's easier. You certainly don't want to be photographed as a public entity doing that on the front page of the newspaper either, right? Front page of the newspaper. If you set a ladder up, you go to use it, and your vision's obstructed while you're on the ladder, you need a spotter. Here's some pictures that were taken. You see this individual up here working in the ceiling. Ladder set up, they're not all the way at the top, but what if somebody were to come out that door right there? Somebody comes out that door, doesn't even know they're there. What's that man on the ladder likely doing? Might be coming to the dirt, right? Just have a spotter. Just have somebody there watching for you, especially if it's a blind door, blind area. Somebody can come around the corner. You don't want somebody walking through there carrying material and knock you off the ladder. If you can't see what's going on around you too, you need somebody out there looking, watching for you to make sure you don't get hit. Again, most common injuries in the workplace, work area, just pay attention, y'all. Sometimes we just have to slow down, right? Sometimes we have to slow down, and it's real easy to get used to and get comfortable with our office buildings, with our layout, with what we're doing, where we're going. That doesn't mean your attention should lessen, all right? Just because the office is set up this way today, it doesn't mean there's not going to be a cord across the floor tomorrow. Just pay attention. Slow down a little bit. We can't always reduce these hazards or eliminate them, but we can be aware of them and then alter how we approach them, how we deal with them, okay? But also, if you see one, let somebody know. And when I say let somebody know, maybe you get that sign, stick it up there. Maybe you tape it down. Just because you see it doesn't mean the next person will see it, all right? Now you're helping your fellow coworkers out. Let's talk about ergonomics real quick. What is ergonomics? Stretching, okay. What else? Posture. What else? The basic definition of it is fitting the job to the worker, not the worker to the job, right? Think about, and I'm going to use line work for an example real quick, how much have the tools and belts evolved, Kevin, over the years for line workers to make it better, right? From an office standpoint, how much have chairs evolved over the years? Have computer monitors, screens evolved over the years to get you where you can have a more natural position when you sit, okay? Ergonomics is all about that, proper chairs, having good chairs. If you've got to sit in a chair for a long period of time, you want it to be a good chair, right? One that's going to give you support. If it doesn't do that, it can cause you problems. How many of y'all sit in a chair most of the day for your work, right? If you sit in there for a long, extended period of time and go to get up, is that the most comfortable thing in the world? You can get stiff, right? I highly encourage you to get up every 45 minutes to an hour, and if you don't do nothing more than walk a lap around your office, walk a lap inside your office building, just get up and move, okay? As you get up and move, it's keeping that blood flow circulating. It's also not allowing your body to get so stiff that you're stiff and just, when you go to get up. So good chairs, make sure you have a good posture when you're sitting. But y'all, posture goes whether you're sitting, whether you're standing, whether you're driving a vehicle. All right, you want a good posture. Think about when y'all first started driving. When y'all first started driving, how many of you seats laid on back? Laid back a little bit. When I first started driving, I get my parents' vehicles, and I'm like, how in the world are they sitting with their backs on like this straight board? I don't get it. But one thing I've noticed over the years is the older I get, the more and more and more that seat starts creeping on up a little more. The more and more I tend to use the heated seat portion more so for back pain relief instead of heating me up because it's cold. It's just a sign of ergonomics. All right, just, hey, it's a problem here, so how am I adjusting my surroundings, my seats, my posture to better relieve myself? Because y'all, ultimately, your back is the foundation on which your entire body sits, okay? It's also going to be one of the first parts of your body to start wearing out quicker the older you get. So you want to take care of it for as long as you can. When you use a good posture like this, you are relieving a lot of stress and strain that can be on your back. When your head, neck, shoulders, spine are all in a good alignment, that's actually taking stress off your spine, okay? But if you're slouched forward, you slouch back, anything where it's not a good, natural, straight posture like that, you are, in fact, putting stress and strain on your back. And if you can have a good posture, keep your back strong longer, it's going to suit you better in the long run. Other things you can do is adjust your monitors, okay? I know with me, if I happen to be in my office all day and the longer I look at that monitor, number one, it's going to give me a headache. But I've also noticed I've gradually had to start increasing font size or increasing the size of the screen. But y'all, when you look at that monitor, don't look at it where you're having to bend your head down or tilt your head up. You don't want to move your neck any more than straight. Adjusting your eyes is one thing, but you don't want to have to adjust your neck up or down, okay, or have to lean forward so that you can see it. Make sure you adjust that monitor correctly so you can keep that natural body position. Again, it's all about keeping that. Good postures for sitting. Right here you can see one. Head, neck, shoulders, spine are all in good alignment. That's a sitting straight up one. One big one that I've seen a lot with office buildings is make sure you keep your feet flat on the floor. That's going to help you out in the long run with stability. So if you kick your feet up in a chair, hey, I'm not knocking you, I get it. I'll sit with my legs crossed or whatever, that's fine. But try to keep your feet on the floor as much as possible, as much as you can. That way it'll help give you balance and it'll help with that natural posture, keeping you maintaining it. You can have what's called a slouch posture that is good. If you've got a chair that reclines, you can have a good slouch posture. That's one more so where the seat is what is tilting back, not the backrest, okay? The backrest is staying the same, so your back keeps that alignment. The seat, what you're actually sitting on, is what tilts back. And as long as you do that and keep all that in alignment, that's called a good slouch or an acceptable slouch. Bad posture sitting, leaning forward like this, again, you're putting a lot of stress, a lot of strain on your back, on your spine. Or if you've got a bad slouch where you're laid back, you see the seat or the back's what's laid back now, and you're having to lean forward like this. So these are things you want to avoid. But again, posture goes the same. Standing, if you're standing up, try to maintain a good posture. Driving a vehicle, try to maintain a good posture. It's just going to help you out more in the long run, okay? From an electrical standpoint, what type of electrical hazards do y'all face here in the office? Are y'all subjected to electricity for one here in this office building? Yep. Got to have it to do your job, right? I mean, we are a power company here, right? But we also have to have it to do our jobs. I mean, be pretty hard to see my presentation, be pretty hard to see in here without lights and power, right? You are subjected to electricity. And with electricity, y'all, I'll tell you, drop cords is one of the biggest issues in office buildings, from a trip hazard, from a potential fire hazard, but also from an electrocution hazard, okay, or somebody having a contact. So you want to make sure your cords are in good shape. Damaged cords do create a problem. I haven't checked these numbers in a while, but from an OSHA standpoint, about 4 years ago, the fine was $10,000 per damaged spot per cord. You have a cord that's got 4 damaged spots on it, wires exposed on all 4 spots, that cord just cost you $40,000 versus 20 to 30, you go get a new one from the hardware store, okay? But the bigger issue is the hazard it creates. How much electricity does it take to kill you? How many volts? Is that a trick question, Chris? Maybe. It's off amps, right? It's off amps. What's that outlet wired up for? How many amps could that outlet potentially have on it? 20? Maybe 30, depending on the outlet, right? How many amps does it take to kill you? You can die off one. So y'all don't think you're not exposed to potential electrical dangers, okay? It's not just your lineman out there in the field. A damaged electrical cord with exposed energized parts is just as much a hazard to you in this office building as it is those line workers out there in the field, all right? So if you see something like that, report it, get a new one, take it out of service. You don't want it to create a problem. Inspect your cords regularly. Now, y'all, if you're not using these cords a lot, if you're not constantly moving them and stuff, you don't have to inspect them regularly. But if you do move that cord, or if something falls on it, or if you suspect damage in any way, at least check it out, make sure there's no issues there, all right? You don't want to overload your outlets, like you see right here. Surge protectors are nice. These power strips are nice, but you don't want to overload them. I went to a co-op one time where they had one of the straight ones. It was plugged into the wall, and of the 4 outlets in there, 3 of them had wires coming out. The 4th one had another power strip plugged into it, and all 4 of those were full too, plugged into one outlet in the wall. That is greatly probably overloading that outlet and increasing the heat there, which could cause a potential fire hazard, which could cause breakers to trip. I mean, you're asking for a world of trouble. Don't overload these outlets, okay? Don't overload your outlets. If you've got breaker boxes, where your breaker boxes are, you don't want any open slots in there. Maybe you take the breaker out, that's fine. Put a plastic cover over there. You don't want it where anybody can go stick their hand in there to potentially exposed energized parts. But this next was pretty good. How many of y'all use space heaters? Any of y'all got space heaters? Nope. Nobody does? Look, I'm not knocking you if you do. I can't speak for Tommy. I'm not knocking you if you do. What I will say, if the co-op allows them, and if you have them, y'all, this is good practice at home too, not just here at work, all right? But if you have them, whether at home, whether at office, make sure if you have a space heater, it's got a shut-off on it. That way, in the event it does tip over, it will cut off, okay? Because you don't want that space heater to tip over and continue to heat up, and catch something on fire. I will also caution you to your proximity to that space heater. Have been to a co-op before where they told me lady had a space heater under the desk. Co-op was cool with it. She also had a blanket over her legs, slid up under the desk, and after a little bit, the blanket started smoking because it was so close to the space heater. It was about to catch on fire. So Be mindful of how close you are to them, if you are allowed to have them. Again, if you've got them, make sure they have an emergency shut off and don't get too close to them. Some electrical hazards that are out there. If it's got 3 prongs on it, make sure all 3 prongs are present. If they're not, you don't need to use it. Like you see right here, you've got a drop cord. It might be hard to see, but there are several damaged spots in there. You don't need to be using these around water anyway, especially not if they're damaged. Right here, we've got the breaker box where you've got open slots in there where anybody could go up there, stick their hand in it. This one right here under the desk, again, that's just creating a potential trip hazard. If you were there and go to get up on a normal day, you could likely get your feet caught up in that. But let's think about it in the realm of, let's say a fire happens and you have to evacuate the building. You want to get your feet caught up in all that and now trip and fall while you're trying to evacuate. All right, so just neaten that up a little bit. This one right here, found that at a co-op. It was tagged out of service, do not use. And for whatever reason, they plugged it back in. It actually had a damaged spot on it. They had taken it out of service, get ready to throw it away, and somebody not paying attention said, oh, there's a drop cord, I need a drop cord, plugged it in, started using it. If it's tagged out of service, y'all don't use it, okay? Now you got this one. This next picture, y'all, might be one of the most interesting things I've ever seen from an electrical standpoint at a co-op. Can y'all see that picture right there pretty good, right here? That is part of an old lighting system inside a warehouse. One of the first motion systems, as you go through there, the lights will automatically cut on. That was one of the first ones that came out, first one that co-op ever had. They took that system out, put a new system in. That got left behind, forgot about. Hey, don't know how long it sat there until it was found, but those exposed energized parts right there had full voltage on them. Okay, y'all, if it looks like it's exposed, let somebody know. Get them to come check it, but especially if you see something like this, get it taken out. All right, get it taken out. It's only creating a danger, creating a hazard that doesn't have to be there, okay? Emergency action plans. Y'all have one? Yes, y'all covered it this morning, right? How many of y'all don't work at this office on a normal day to day? I see 2 hands, 3 hands. All right. Where do you work, man? Goose Creek. Is your meeting place the same at Goose Creek as it is here? The sign out front. Anybody from Johns Island? Here, right? They might be out by the gate. Not saying you would be, just hypothetical. But make sure you understand where to go, how to respond in the event of an emergency. Building layouts are different, so how this building's laid out might be different than how Goose Creek is and how Johns Island is and how Allendale is. Know how to get out of the areas you're in, all right? Know how to get out of those areas. Obviously, it's not necessarily the same at each office. They're similar, but it's not necessarily the same. But you want a plan in place. Is that y'all's plan? Run as fast as you can, just like you do at closing time? Hey, you want to get out of there, right? But what you're trying to do with these is control the chaos. In the event, y'all, and look, God forbid there is a fire here right now, what type of chaos and pandemonium do you think would really ensue if it was real? Not a drill, not practice, but this is real and we got to get out of here. It can be pretty chaotic, right? What you're trying to do is limit the chaos. That's why we practice these things. Just like when we were in school. How many of y'all remember being in school and you practiced fire drills, tornado drills, all that? You did that to keep yourself refreshed. It's no different than first aid CPR. You never want to have to use that stuff, but if you do want to know how to respond, okay? So that's why we have them. That's why we practice them. You can access it. Y'all just actually got it sent out to you, didn't you? Y'all had your EAP sent out to you. So co-op has made it available for you. You got it. Encourage you to review it. Real quick from some fire safety stuff. I'm not going to get too deep into fire safety with y'all just because you got it coming up later this year. We'll cover it a lot more in depth. But just hit on some basics. Fire safety from a number standpoint, it's an average that around 3,340 fires occur in the workplace every year. That results in, on average, 4 deaths, 44 injuries, and over $112 million in damage to business offices, okay, to business offices. With fire safety, again, know your evacuation plan. Again, I think it's great. They review them before y'all's meetings. Know where the pool stations are, know where your extinguishers are located at. You know, the extinguisher behind that screen, that's not a big deal. You can very easily and quickly get to it if you needed to. I have been to a co-op before where they had a piano in their room pushed against a wall, and it was pushed against the box fire extinguisher was in. I ain't moving a piano on a normal day. I'm surely not going to waste my time to get a fire extinguisher. So you want to make sure they're accessible. Don't have them blocked. Make sure you can get to them quickly. But you also want to know how and when and what type of extinguisher to use. Now, as far as type, the types you have here in your buildings, they should be sufficient to handle anything you have here as far as a class A, B, or a C, all right? As far as what they'll handle, there's a number on there, a BC rating. What y'all have in your facilities are called 60 BCs. That basically means it'll cover 60 square feet. A 10 BC is good for 10 square feet. So the BC rating will give you an indicator or an idea of how many square feet the fire extinguisher will cover. But let's talk about how and when to use them. All right, how we use them is the pass method. Pull the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, sweep from side to side. But let's talk about when. You know, if we have a fire that's engulfed this room, it's engulfed those doors, we're not using a fire extinguisher now to put that fire completely out. How and when you're using that fire extinguisher now is just to put it out around the door so you can get out, okay? You're not intending to put that fire out. If it's growing out of control, y'all, it's not going to handle it. If this room's 3/4 of the way engulfed, there's no way it's going to handle it. But you could use that fire extinguisher now to put it out around the door so you can still safely evacuate. Does that make sense? All right. Other things with fire safety is don't block your emergency exits. Again, whether renovations are going on, whether you're moving stuff around, see this a lot. Hallways, storage areas get clogged up with stuff, get clogged up with office furniture, those types of things. If that's your only way out, how's it look right now? Not too good. If that's the only way you can get out. If every other exit's got a fire around it, this is your only way, you don't want your emergency exits blocked, okay? So make sure they stay clean, clear, whether it's in the office, whether it's in the warehouse, or whatever the case is. As far as inclement weather, you know, Mother Nature has been very moody this year. And I say moody, we had snow, then we had spring, then we had snow, then we had spring, then we had a threat of snow, and now we're back to spring, it seems like, this week again, isn't it? I mean, it's been crazy, right? But inclement weather can come up at any time. Y'all know how quick can an afternoon thunderstorm come up down here. That can be pretty severe with potential tornado watches and those types of things. Again, if you're here at work, you want to know how to respond, want to know where to go. In the event you had, let's say, again, tornado was coming down through here, and we had to seek shelter right now, where would we go in this building? Bathrooms? Any interior room probably, right? Your interior rooms. What to do? Obviously, you want to seek shelter, avoid rooms with windows, avoid rooms with exterior walls if possible. Windows, doors, exterior walls. It says avoid large rooms. The closer you get to the interior of the building, how much closer are the walls typically? They're a lot closer, so it's a lot more structurally sound there than a bigger, larger room. Plus, your bigger, larger rooms usually are accompanied with windows and stuff. So try to avoid that stuff. In the event of a robbery, let's talk about a robbery real quick. Robbery or an aggressive member. Okay, we talked about an aggressive member a little bit, but from a robbery, aggressive member standpoint, try to avoid a confrontation. Okay, try to avoid a confrontation if at all possible. These people are coming in here hot, worked up, angry, and you get angry back with them, what's that only going to do to them? That's going to fuel their fire, right? So we want to try to remain calm. Try. And y'all, that's hard. That's hard. That's a lot easier said than done. I'll never forget the angriest member I ever had to deal with. On the service truck, get it cut off, go out there to cut the meter off, and before I can even get the cover off, here she comes out of the house. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, that lady cussed me like nobody ever has before or since. It was impressive. It was impressive. She was hot. She was hot. And what defused that situation was when she realized my dispatcher was on the phone that was in my pocket. Dispatcher called me as I was walking up to the meter, and I said, hey, while I've got you, I'm about to cut this meter off. I'm going to put my phone on speaker, and I'll call the information out to you as I cut it off. Okay. Stuck the phone in my pocket. Dispatcher heard everything. When I said, ma'am, you need to talk to my dispatcher. The entire tune changed when she realized somebody else had heard it all. All right. That thankfully defused the situation, but it was to the point I had even walked back to my truck. She's standing there holding my door shut, not wanting me to leave. Like, I didn't cut you off. I left your power on. And it got bad. But y'all try to remain calm, because when you start getting fired back up with them, it's only fueling their fires, making the situation worse, okay? If you need to, contact the supervisor. Know what your company's safety protocols are in that event. If you feel like you need somebody else in there with you, y'all get them. Get them. Get them in there. If you aren't comfortable, if you don't feel safe, remove yourself from that situation, okay? Remove yourself from that situation. Get somebody else in there, all right? Don't put yourself in harm's way if you don't need to. In the event that it is a robbery and they come in here, try to remember some key features about them, what they look like, clothing, hats, anything like that, what vehicle they left in, what direction did they go, try to get a license plate number, those types of things. But what are deterrents for folks? Y'all do have some deterrents for folks to keep incidents like this from happening, especially in the office building. One thing you have is panic alarms, right? You got these silent alarms that go off, okay? Y'all that are subjected to them, y'all know where they are? You know where they are? Y'all test them? You don't? Y'all actually do test them once a year at a minimum. Y'all do test them. Somebody said yesterday, we don't have to test them. We used to run into them all the time and make them go off on accidents, so we knew they worked. But you do want to at least test them annually. If you have a way to notify other employees that an incident is occurring, that is a good thing to have in place, whether it's a strobe light, whether it's a mass text, mass email, some sort of way to inform employees. Because what you don't want is Kevin to go walking up front while there's robbery going on and guy's got a gun pulled, right? You want to limit the number of people that are up there exposed to it. So if you've got a way to inform employees, that's a great thing to have. Other things you do that are deterrents, just having markers up by the door. Markers by the door. And yeah, that's not numbers right there to give exact heights, but I can get a lot closer if I say the individual was between the green strip and the red strip than I can, well, I think they were this tall, right? You can at least get it closer. Video cameras, y'all, cameras themselves are a deterrent. Just seeing that camera is a deterrent, all right? We had, and it wasn't in an office, but we had an issue at a substation one time. Substation kept getting broke into, copper kept getting stolen, all that. We took an old camera, stuck it on a pole, had about 4 foot of wire on it, run some pipe up the pole, stuck the wire down in there, and never hooked that camera up, but that substation never got broke into again either. Hey, just the camera being there was a deterrent, even though it never worked. Never worked, the camera itself was a deterrent. Other things you have, bulletproof glass, those types of things. If the individual knows they can't truly harm you because of the glass, that's a deterrent. That gives you a peace of mind about your safety. But another thing, y'all don't see it, neither do they, is I'm betting y'all's desks right there under that bulletproof glass are Kevlar reinforced. That way they can't shoot through the desk either. Okay, so there is that extra barrier there. That question's come up before at another co-op. So all of these things, y'all, they're deterrents, but they're there to help you. Okay, help you. But ultimately, if you don't feel safe, get yourself out of that situation. Okay, I've seen situations where, and I actually saw it back during this most recent hurricane. One member services rep kept trying to talk to an individual, and that rep only made that individual matter. But you put somebody else on the phone who relayed the same information in a different way, it calmed that person down. Sometimes it, hey, y'all might just be oil and water or gas and fire or something. You know what? Let somebody else talk to it or handle it if they can. All right, maybe they can defuse the situation, but don't put yourself in a bad spot. First aid, no expired items in kits. So if you do see them, you do see anything expired, let somebody know so it can get changed out. AEDs, want to make sure your batteries are fully charged. Pads have in date. They're not expired on there. You want to know where they are, know where they're located. Are they located in the same place at every office? Are they in a break room at every office? Or are they in different locations at every office? All in the break rooms? Hey, just know where they are. Every break room might be a little different, but at least just know where they are. Hey, I know if I need an AED, I'm going to the break room, okay? Y'all, to wrap this up, yeah, the office is not the field, but you are exposed to hazards. Every occupation, everything you do has a hazard associated with it, okay? So don't think there are not hazards in your workplace. There are. We want to make sure we keep ourselves safe, eliminate or at least be mindful, be aware, be cautious around slip, trip, fall hazards. We can't always get rid of them, but we can be mindful. Be mindful of electrical cords. If you see damaged ones, take them out of service. If you think they're damaged, inspect them. Don't overload your outlets. Make sure you keep up the condition on them. Know your emergency action plans, how to respond, what's expected of you, where do you need to go, all right? Where do you need to go? Y'all got any questions?